Good morning, beautiful people. Sam here, United People's TV. It's live. I'm not Martin Tyler though, but this is today's transfer news video. And you can see by the title what the main bit of debate we're going to have in this video is. And that's all about Sergio Ramos. Last night, official confirmation came in that he is leaving Real Madrid this summer. Of course, we were previously in for Sergio Ramos, but our name was basically used as a tool for him to get a new bumper contract at Real Madrid. But that's not happening this summer. He is leaving, and Man United need a centre-back. Should we be in for Ramos? That's going to be the debate. I'll run through the official announcement, the news coming from Spain, linking United, and taking a quick look at his career stats, because let's be honest, they are ridiculous. But I want to know in the comments what you think about Sergio Ramos. Do you think that that's an outrageous idea for United because of how old he is, because of his injury record last year? Or is he the sort of person that could come in and be the short-term boost that we need at centre-back? That's the debate I want to have. Plus updates on Jadon Sancho, plus updates on Kieran Trippier. And as always, make sure you fire your comments in. Where are you watching this from? I'll give you shout-outs throughout the video, as many as I can. And if you're watching on YouTube as well, please fire in the super chats, because it helps the channel and it helps me and it helps the channel grow a bit more. But before we get into it, where are you all watching from? We've got Vivian. Good morning. You're watching from South Africa. How are you doing, my friend? We've got Memphis watching from Zambia. Aren't you playing today against Austria? Should probably get back there. We've got Joseph watching from Dallas, Texas. Really good morning to you there. And we've got Lee watching from sunny Cumbria. It's not very sunny outside there. The sunshine has left the UK. And we've got NG watching from Malaysia. Good morning to all of you. But let's head straight to the main talking point and the main official announcement there that came last night. As you can see on the official Real Madrid website, we can announce today on the Thursday, the 17th of June, that Ramos, well, actually, they're saying that there's going to be a press conference today at 12:30 that Ramos is leaving. Now, so many of you will correctly say that Sergio Ramos had injury problems last year. But at the same time, so many of you could correctly say is, look at Sergio Ramos's career. 1 World Cup, 2 European Championships, 4 Champions Leagues, 5 league titles, and 2 Spanish Cup titles. He's 35, but Sergio Ramos has for a long time been one of the best in the business. There aren't many who can compete with him in terms of what he's done in his career. Obviously, he was in that Spanish team that dominated, and that was a good time for him. But at the same time, he's gone through. It's a bit like Rooney and Ronaldo. You know, Rooney at United, when Rooney was there throughout. So many strikers came and went at United, and Rooney still stayed there. And Ramos is kind of the same at centre-back with Real Madrid. So much change has happened at that club, but he's still doing the business. And I think, if you look at his career stats there, look, over 700 appearances, over 100 goals. He's ridiculous. He really is ridiculous. But the main thing I know is going to be said in the comments, and let me go down to the comments now and see what you're saying. But the main thing you're all going to say in the comments is his injury record. Look at what happened to Sergio Ramos last year. And this is a fair point. So let's scroll up here. Let's quickly look at how many. My God, this is not working very well. There we go. So last year, he played 1,200 minutes in La Liga. But look at his injury record. Knee problems, muscle fiber tear, torn meniscus, muscle injury. Even got coronavirus. He didn't have a good year last year, because if you look at that, 1,700 minutes in total last season. And if you compare that to the year before, let's see how much Ramos played then. He played, by comparison, 3,800 minutes. Nearly double. The year before, how many minutes did he play there? 3,600. So he played a hell of a lot more in the seasons prior to last year. And that is probably the issue that a lot of you are going to have with Sergio Ramos. Is he really going to be the person that comes in to this squad and this team and partners Harry Maguire and stays there for the full season, plays every game, and gives us the centre-back that we need to rely on? Because that's the issue. You can rely on Harry Maguire, but Victor Lindelof comes in and out. Eric Bailly comes in and out. Axel Tuanzebe, who sounds like he's going on loan for the season, comes in and out. I'm not sure. But let me see what you're saying about this in the comments. Damar saying Ramos is better than our defenders by far, and it's facts. We've got Daniel on YouTube saying he's quite a good centre-back, but his injury record and his age is an issue. We should be looking for a long-term solution. Now, I suppose that's where the difference comes in, because Maybe with someone like Sergio Ramos, is that just an opportunity that you take that you didn't think that you were going to take, but you take it because it's there? Or should United be focusing on the key target? Because going into this summer transfer window, Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have had key transfer targets for every position. The main players we wanted to get, like Jadon Sancho being the first right winger on our list, and we're hopefully going to get him. Updates on Jadon Sancho in a bit. Sergio Ramos would have been nowhere near our list because it's Sergio Ramos. You know, what's the point? But now he's available. Does that change things? I don't know. We've got Nick here saying prime experience, but not a long-term solution. And you're absolutely spot on there. Sergio Ramos, in no way, shape, or form, is a long-term solution. But could he be the short-term solution that comes in and really solidifies that defense and changes our defense and turns it into more of a unit rather than individual players who aren't really playing cohesively together? Because if you're looking at a leader, are you going to better Sergio Ramos? I mean, he is an absolute shithouse. Could you imagine what he would do against Liverpool? For that alone, I'd like to sign him. Let me see what else you're saying about here. With his, Bishop over on Facebook, you're saying with his experience, he'd be a good addition. But Thomas, you're disagreeing. You're saying, no, too old. Go for Varane and Pau Torres. Now, this is a big issue, I would say, is the fact that Ramos leaving Real Madrid, for me, rules out Rafael Varane leaving Real Madrid. I don't think that Real Madrid would lose Sergio Ramos and Rafael Varane in the same summer. And for Varane, it means that he's got scope to go upwards at Real Madrid now. He's not got Sergio Ramos standing in his way. He's there ready to become, I mean, he already has. He's already a very influential player at Real Madrid, but Ramos is left, and therefore someone's got to fill his shoes for Real Madrid. And Varane is probably the most likely candidate. So in that sense, I'd be very surprised now, I'll be honest, if Real Madrid do let Varane go in the same summer that Ramos leaves finally. That's my opinion. I might be wrong on that. But as always, if you're new to the channel at this point, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying it. But make sure you subscribe on YouTube. It's free. Get involved. And make sure you drop a like on the page if you're watching it on Facebook. And if you can as well, send in your super chats and I'll answer your questions. Because as I always say, there's so many of you commenting constantly about where you're watching this from. I really struggle to read your questions. Let's see where else you're watching this from now. We've got Sitesa watching from Malaysia. Good morning to you, my friend. And we've got Creasy Anthony watching from Ghana. Big up Ghana. We've got Dominion watching from Montenegro. And we've got Mike watching from Zambia. All around the world. Where else we got? Let's have a look. Too many comments coming in. Joe watching from Uganda. Good morning to you too. But look, Mo watching from USA. Good morning to you as well. Look at that. Got Ali watching from Baghdad. Good morning to you as well, my friend. Right, let's go back to talking about Sergio Ramos. Too many shout-outs going on right now. But it's his stats, man. That's why he can't look. I don't know. Part of me looks at this Sergio Ramos concept of signing Sergio Ramos and thinking, absolutely sod that. That's the sort of transfer that we would have been so over if we had Ed Woodward in control of our transfers. It would have been all about signing a big player who's available. And bear in mind that Sergio Ramos is leaving Real Madrid and he is going to have a lot of offers. Therefore, he is probably going to join the club that pays him the most money. Therefore, would Sergio Ramos join United for the wrong reasons? Would Sergio Ramos simply just come to us for the payday and not actually properly care about playing for United? Because we are linked with him. So if we go over here, over to the People's Person, covered this morning, make sure you head to the People's Person if you want the latest news, because this is on here hours ago. Manchester United are one of two favourites to sign a centre-back, and this is coming from Marca. And Marca are typically known as the newspaper in Spain who have the closest links to Real Madrid. This is what they're saying. Saying Marca, the major Spanish outlet closest to Real Madrid, mention United by name and do think that we are a potential destination. This is what they say. Sergio's agent and brother, Renato Ramos, has knocked on many doors in recent months. Practically all of the greats in Europe. Whether any have suddenly opened is unknown for now. Could it be Italy, where taxation is attractive? The Premier League, where he's already flirted with United for years, and obviously where he's got the links with Guardiola. He got PSG being linked, now Seville. Obviously, that's where he came from before he joined Real Madrid. He is not going to Seville. Real Madrid, Fabrizio Romano, the man himself, has already confirmed that. So it won't be a romantic return to Seville in the same way that Gianluigi Buffon is returning to Parma. That won't happen. So you can rule out Sevilla. So it's a case of who wants him the most, because Sergio Ramos, if Sergio Ramos turned out to be an Edinson Cavani for our defence, he would be an incredible signing. If Sergio Ramos turned out to be a Radamel Falcao of our defence, he will be an expensively terrible signing. And that, I feel, is the problem with Sergio Ramos. It's the concept that it could go one way or the other. And it would be a big risk for United to spend big. Probably going to have to make him equal to David De Gea on our biggest earners list. 300, 350 grand a week is probably what you're going to be looking at for someone like Sergio Ramos. That's a lot of money for someone who could end up playing 10, 20 games next season because he's got so many injury problems. It's a concern. It's a major concern. Make sure you fire in your super chats, ladies and gents. No one sent any in. Come on. I'm feeling lonely over here. But I think that the point about Rafael Varane is quite key. The fact that he won't be leaving. And you can almost expect a sort of a merry-go-round of centre-back signings this summer now. You could almost see Sergio Ramos going to PSG, Rafael Varane staying at Real Madrid. What happens to Jules Koundé? Does he come in and replace Ramos maybe from Seville? Do they try and do the same thing again? There's plenty of movement that's going to happen. And I suppose the Sergio Ramos thing was unexpected. And that's why so many of us would never have dreamed of even having this conversation. But maybe with a player like Ramos, you just can't ignore it. I don't know. For me, it's my heart says, for me personally, my heart and my head both say no. I think Sergio Ramos could potentially be excellent, but it smells more like a PSG type signing than it does a Manchester United type signing, because we've changed our style in the transfer market. 2 or 3 years ago, this would have been exactly the sort of signing that we would have been all over when we were going for like Fabregases and your Bales and your Ramos. But I think United have learned from our lessons previously. We might not have, and maybe we will go in for him. But I imagine that we went into this summer with key targets, and whether that was Rafael Varane, and maybe that changes because Varane's not going to be leaving now. Let's see what else you're going to be saying. You got Sammy watching from Sierra Leone. Good morning to you, my friend. We've got another one from Sierra Leone. We've got Gianni watching from Sierra Leone. Good morning to both of you. We've got Pranav saying, I don't think he should go to PSG. Got Chris from South Africa saying on YouTube, good morning to you. Ramos will be a good mentor for our young players and a successful role model. And again, if you're looking at the success of Edinson Cavani and why he has been such a good signing for Manchester United, it's the fact that he is a mentor. Is there anybody better in world football that our players can learn from in terms of winning mentality than Sergio Ramos? I'm going to repeat these. 1 World Cup, 2 European Championships, 4 Champions League titles. He's won more Champions Leagues than Manchester United have. 5 La Liga titles, 2 Spanish Cup titles. What's that? 9, 13, 15, 16 major titles in his career. And yes, he's 35, but Pepe's 38 and he's playing at the Euros and he actually looks half decent. I don't know. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And I think it all depends on your own personal opinion on how United should be going and approaching these transfer windows. Because Cavani, let's be honest, it wasn't something that we planned all summer. It was something that happened right at the end on deadline day. We panicked. Cavani's available on a free. Oh, it fucking worked out. Brilliant. We didn't plan that. That was a bit lucky for United that Cavani worked out like that. But he's turned into he's turned into being a superb role model for the younger players. And Greenwood, you've seen the development of him. Rashford, I think he's developing too. Martial, I'm not sure what's happening to him. But could Ramos be that same player for someone like Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof and Eric Bailly and Axel Tuanzebe? In that sense, for his experience, I'd love to have Sergio Ramos in and around Manchester United. I think he could influence and rub off on people in a brilliant way. But I'm not sure I want to pay him 350 grand a week. That's a lot of dough. Absolutely a lot of dough. Got Angela watching on Facebook from Sydney. Mancunian, born and bred out in Australia. Good morning to you. Good night to you. I'm not really sure. But thank you for your comment. We've got Mandy watching over on YouTube from South Africa. Man United should forget Ramos because United need young players. Right, you let me know in the comments below now. I'll try and have a look at which is most popular. Just type yes Ramos or no Ramos in the comments now as to whether or not you want to sign him. Because on the one hand, if you're looking at the pros, you're looking at the fact that he is a ridiculous pro. All the titles that he has won, all the appearances that he's made in his whole career, over 700 appearances for Real Madrid. And he's won it all. And he's won it all plenty of times. So I need to know from you in the comments, yes, Ramos or no Ramos. I'm going to read through. I'm going to see how many comments come in because there are tons of comments coming in. So big shout out to everyone who's watching on YouTube and big shout out to everyone who's watching on Facebook. But it's really interesting because this is a delicate debate, I would say. It depends on whether you think that United this summer are desperate for that experience and that leadership. And in that sense, Ramos is your man. Or do we need someone to come in who's like Jules Koundé or maybe Rafael Varane, who still could be a very big leader? Could they be the right types of signings? Let's see which is the most popular answer. Because there are tons coming in. My God, so many comments. I can't keep up with them. Yes, no, 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 no. I tell you what, just by scrolling through these, it is a pure 50-50. A pure 50-50. And I think that's going to be the debate amongst United fans because you can really happily argue yes with Ramos because there's so many reasons why you can argue yes, but you can easily happily argue no as well. And I think that is the issue. It's just going to be so split. Super chat came in here. I've got to scroll up and try and find where it is. It's from Braithwaite. Oh, where is it? Disappeared now. So, sorry, I can't put it up on screen, but I can read it for you now. Ramos is a winner, says Braithwaite30 on YouTube. He would be immense for our squad. I'd take him in a heartbeat, but we need to be smart salary-wise. And I think that is probably the issue because I think I'm with you. In a heartbeat, I'd take Ramos at United if it didn't mean that we weren't spending a ridiculous amount on his wages and a ridiculous amount on a signing on fee and that we then didn't sign another set. I don't know. This is my problem because I can see so many reasons why I would like to sign Ramos, but the realist inside me is telling me, look, man, he's 35. He played half the amount of minutes last season than he played in the 2 years previous. His injury concerns have come to haunt him. But at the same time, Cavani had injury concerns and he came to United, had a bit of a quiet first half of the season and then blew it away in the second half of the season. You can see why the comments are split. You can see why 50% of you are saying sign Ramos, and you can see exactly why 50% of you are saying don't sign Sergio Ramos. But it's a very interesting one. I'm going to bring you all the latest news. As I said earlier, let's head back to People's Person website. Manchester United are considered in for him. This is what's coming out of Marca in Spain. And while Marca in Spain, we wouldn't really normally listen to them. They are the closest newspaper to Real Madrid. So if anyone's going to have word on where Ramos is going, it's probably going to come from Marca. So I'm going to be covering that throughout the summer. Make sure you get your comments in. Make sure you get your super chats in. Bring up Braithwaite30 for sending that in, my friend. But Sergio Ramos is, of course, not the only person we are talking about this morning. And while it's the big debate in the comments right now, let's quickly skip over the latest news. And the latest news on that man, Jadon Sancho, from Fabrizio Romano, speaking on his podcast yesterday. He said the Jadon Sancho saga will not be long like last summer. If Sancho joins United, it will be quick negotiations. It will be a matter of weeks, and it will not last until the end of August. Also said for the first time, Manchester United, Dortmund, and Jadon Sancho's camp are optimistic and confident about a deal taking place this summer. The two clubs are still negotiating, and it's on to United to complete the deal. So that all sounds like pretty terrific news for United because for the first time, United, Dortmund, and Sancho's camp are all confident that the deal can go through. That's a really, really good thing because Jadon Sancho's camp, that's already done and dusted. But it's always been between United and Dortmund. And if the word coming from both United and Dortmund that the situation can be resolved, that is big news. And Fabrizio, they're saying what I felt the whole way, and I think what a lot of you are feeling as well. I don't think it's going to be a long end of August to and fro negotiations. It seems like United are going more aggressively after their targets this summer. I'll go into a Kieran Trippier latest very shortly just to show you that we're making moves. You know, And as there was a report yesterday, who is it that Arsenal rejected a bid from Villa for Emil Smith-Rowe, and Arsenal had a 40 million bid for Ben White turned down. So it goes to show that clubs, the Premier League clubs, can deal, can make bids, can make movements whilst the Euros are going on. It's not as if there's nothing we can do during the Euros. It might be difficult to complete the negotiations, but it doesn't mean that clubs can't deal with each other behind the scenes. And that's what I want to see United doing with Sancho. Let's see where you're all watching from. As always, in the comments, we've got Ruben watching from Portugal. Good morning to you, my friend. See what else. Little watching from rainy Nepal. It's rainy UK as well, so we can say that together. We've got Dr. Tomoy watching from Bangladesh this morning. Good morning to you, my friend. And we've got Siddharth watching from India. As always, if you've got any questions you want to ask me, make sure you fire them in the comments, because I can't really read them because there's too many comments coming in from people all around the world, like Abraham from Dallas, Texas, Daniel from Dubai, Gemwell watching from Zimbabwe, and Franklin watching from China. Jody watching from Cape Town, South Africa, and Warsami from Sweden. Seriously, man. Oh, yeah, watching from Nigeria. It is properly all around the world. But yeah, if you've got any questions you really want to ask me, you need to fire them in on Super Chats, because I can't read them. There's too many questions coming in. So it needs to pop up for me. Right, moving on to the next bit of news this morning, and this is coming about Kieran Trippier. Manchester United have failed in the first push to buy Atletico Madrid's Kieran Trippier. Atletico want about £34 million for him. Manchester United had an opening bid turned down. There actually is no price here. This is from Fabrizio as well for The Guardian. There's no price really mentioned there. But 34 million, man, for Kieran Trippier. Bear in mind, we're going to be signing Trippier as an alternative, as a backup to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who we paid £50 million for. 30 million for a 30-year-old? That's just excessive. I personally think that Atletico Madrid are taking the piss. But it also kind of goes to show that Atletico Madrid have no intention of letting Trippier go for cheap. They won the league last year. He played in every single game in winning the league last year. Therefore, Trippier was a crucial part to that Atletico Madrid team, which won the league. They don't want to let him go unless it's for a right amount of money. And maybe for them, the right amount of money is a silly amount of money. That's why they're putting a price tag like 30 million odd on Kieran Trippier. And the fact that they don't need to sell him, I think might go against us, because it means that the only reason they would sell him is for a silly amount of money. And I don't really see United going in for Kieran Trippier at that price. At the moment, we were going in for him for around about between 10 and 15 million, which might be slightly cheeky, given that they won the league last year. But I personally think for a player who's that old, is 30 old in football these days? I don't know. I think it is, but with the fitness and the nutrition and everything that the players have now, their bodies are able to last. I mean, Ronaldo is the best example of that, the only example of that. But he's a freak, so shouldn't really compare Ronaldo to anyone else. I think he's 36 now, and he's probably got the body of a bloody 25-year-old. He's absolutely mad. Let's see what you think about Kieran Trippier here. Matt on YouTube. Good morning to you, Matt. Good to see our former Super League partners are making it so easy for us to sign Trippier. Ah, good old Super League, eh? I'm so glad that we don't ever have to talk about that again. What an absolute shit show that was for a couple of weeks. Trippier is overrated, says Lakshman. I mean, I don't think Trippier is massively, hugely rated by anybody. It's the fact that you can see him coming in and bringing the experience and helping Aaron Wan-Bissaka develop his attacking game. That's something that Trippier is very naturally good at. And something that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is naturally great at is defending, is his tackling, his one-on-one tackling. But he needs to learn that going forward. And someone like Trippier can bring that in. But to spend 30 million on that when we need a defensive midfielder, when we need a centre-back, when we need Jadon Sancho, and we don't necessarily need competition for Wan-Bissaka, by comparison, just seems like a lot of money to spend on a player like that in that position. And I don't really think we're going to be doing that, especially when you look at the likes of Locatelli, who nailed it for Italy last night. He's clearly going to be one of the players from Europe. There's always players at Euro 2020 who break out. For England, it was Calvin Phillips in that first game. For Italy, there is Locatelli in that second game. Beautiful performance from him. Sassuolo, 40 million euros. around about the same price you're charging for Trippier, and we need the defensive midfielder so much more than we need a right back. I've said that a million gajillion times. I'm even making words up now. Trippier is better than AWB. I would completely disagree with that, Frederick. And if you're going to have only one of them, I would rather only have AWB. If you're watching on YouTube quickly and you're new, make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to United People's TV. It's free. I'm here Monday to Friday doing these interactive live shows. I'm probably going to start doing more of my regular content as well. I don't just want to do live content, but right now so much is happening and I'm enjoying the interaction with everybody that I'm doing more live content. If you're watching on Facebook, drop a like on the page and share this as well because it helps bring more in. But where are you watching it from? We've got Sushrat watching from Nepal. Good morning to you, my friend. Where else? I'm making noise. Mushazu watching from Malaysia. Good morning to you. There's loads of people watching from Malaysia. I've got Paul watching on Facebook. Good morning. My name's Paul. I'm watching from Bradford. How do you want to do is going on with our Manchester United signing as well? I have no idea what you just said there, Paul. But good morning to you from Bradford. Let's see what else. We've got a super chat here coming from Taiwan. Good morning to you. Ramos will be a good for a year, but we can't just go for the older players. We need younger players who still have years to offer United. Trippier should cost us no more than 20 to 25 million pounds. I personally think that 20 million would be a fair price for Trippier, given how important he was to the Atletico Madrid title-winning team. I mean, 30 is old, but 30's still got years in him. 20 to 25 million would be good. And Ramos for a year would be good, but we just can't go for the older players. We need younger players too. It's a completely fair comment. And I personally think that's exactly why it's such a 50-50 debate that we're seeing in the comments here about Sergio Ramos. Because on the one hand, you can see the benefits, but on the other hand, he is 35. He is past his best, but he still could do a job for Manchester United. And I think that's the crux. And with Ramos, a big thing that I would say about Ramos is I wouldn't want Ramos to be the only signing that United make this summer at centre-back if we do sign him. And I mean, it probably would be if we went after him because of how much his wages would be. But that is exactly why it's so important to get players like Juan Mata off the books. Maybe David De Gea, if he's going to be leaving, hit David De Gea off the books. Phil Jones off the books. Andreas Pereira, Diogo Dalot, Phil Jones, Jesse Lingard. It's really crucial that United, not only this summer, sign the players that we want to sign, but continue the cycle of getting rid of the players who do not have a future at the club, because there's no point us wasting huge wages on those players when those wages could go on someone like Sergio Ramos. I'd much rather have Sergio Ramos at the club next year on big wages than I would Juan Mata at the club next year on big wages, because we've got players like Donny van der Beek ahead of Juan Mata now. So the time for Juan Mata has left, and it's about United need to put our wages and be smart about where we're spending our money, because it will be a huge gamble to sign Ramos. Absolutely huge gamble to sign Ramos. And if it paid off, it will be brilliant, but it will be a risk. And we can mitigate that risk by getting rid of other players and therefore keeping our transfer funds available to spend on the defensive midfielder that we so desperately need, to spend on Jadon Sancho, which is clearly going to happen. Fingers crossed. Just, touch wood, touching all the wood here. I didn't just jinx it there. But let's go back to the comments and let's read some more out. We've got Sumi watching from Thailand. Good morning to you. We've got Ejiski watching from Nigeria over on Facebook. Good morning to you. And we've got Ebenezer watching from Nigeria. Good morning to you, Ebenezer, as well. So many of you watching from Nigeria. Obviously near Ghana. Maybe I'll go to Nigeria next time. Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of a central defensive midfielder, who do you want? Let me know in the comments below and send in your super chats if you think that there's any Euro 2020 players that maybe I should be talking about that I haven't talked about so far, people who really have been impressing you. Now, I saw this on Twitter this morning, and I'll pull this one up because I found it quite interesting, because it's the first time his name has kind of been mentioned this summer. We've been linked with him before, but again, tentatively, and he's ended up staying at the club. And that is Saul Niguez. Manchester United have had a 35 million plus 5 million euro bid for Saul Niguez rejected. Atletico are not really convinced by this offer. Now, Saul Niguez is kind of an all-round midfielder. I wouldn't say he's particularly a defensive midfielder. As far as I'm aware, he's not. He's far more creative than that. But Sauniguez is a player that we've been linked with previously. Do you think that United are likely to go in for him this summer, or is he just another player? Let me know what you think in the comments below. But let me see what you're commenting about your central defensive midfield targets. Let me see what you think. Cruz, you're on Facebook and you're speaking my language here, baby. You're saying Ruben Neves. Absolutely Ruben Neves. You've got Wakisi, you're saying Calvin Phillips. Obviously, he's super impressed for England. Doesn't he actually plays more defensive midfield role for Leeds? He was given more freedom by Gareth Southgate in the game against Croatia. A bit different. Let's see what else we've got. Casemiro, says Kabir. I don't think we're going to be signing Casemiro anytime soon. Rodney on YouTube, you're saying Declan Rice. You've got Rohan saying Locatelli or Zakaria. Ruben Neves, says Daniel. We've got Gary saying Saul. I'm not sure if we were to sign Saul Niguez that he would properly just be a defensive midfielder. I don't think that's his actual position. I mean, he certainly doesn't play like an Ndidi type role. There you go. CE saying Ndidi. Luke Keever's saying Declan Rice. Look, Declan Rice. I said about Declan Rice this summer that I haven't watched West Ham enough. And playing for West Ham is not like playing for Manchester United. It's two completely different things. And the reason I was excited to watch England this summer from a Declan Rice perspective because I thought he was going to operate in a single pivot. But Gareth Southgate's played two midfielders, played Phillips alongside Rice in the game against Croatia. But we do the same thing against Scotland. We'll find out tomorrow. But I need to see something from Declan Rice this summer at the Euros in that holding midfield role to show me that he can do it on the biggest stage. I'm not convinced that Declan Rice is worth the money that's getting banded about because it's United, because he's English, because he plays in the Premier League, because of the United tax that comes on top of it, and because he's playing in the Euros. You're going to be talking like between 75 and 90 million pounds. I think West Ham are going to ask for Declan Rice. And for me, that's Jadon Sancho money, man. Jadon Sancho, the guy who's going to be scoring and assisting most games. The guy who's going to be match winning for you. And West Ham are going to try and charge that much for him? I don't know. That is a lot of dough for Declan Rice, which is why I keep talking about Ruben Neves so much. Obviously, Locatelli is going to be one of the breakthrough players, fingers crossed for him, that comes through the Euros. An absolutely sensational performance. 2 goals from defensive midfield last night for Italy. But the defensive midfield is the most crucial position. And it annoys me so much that nothing really still has happened about that and that nothing is really changing and that we aren't after any targets. And I've said it before, maybe when the Sancho deal is done, maybe that we can improve on it and actually go towards signing a defensive midfielder. But I don't know. Let's head back to the comments and see what you're saying. And as always, keep firing in your super chats, baby. Coley, going back to Ramos. Why? For what? Ramos is finished, injury prone. We want an upgrade in your defense. Rather sign Varane, Koundé, or Christian Romero. Now, as I said earlier, Coley, I think that Ramos leaving Real Madrid pretty much poo-poos any chance of Varane leaving Real Madrid. I'll be very surprised if both of them leave in the same summer, especially in a summer where Real Madrid are only going to be signing players really on free transfers because they're so much in debt, in the same way that Barcelona are trying to snap up all the free transfers as well. I'll tell you what would be hilarious if Ramos went to Barcelona. I don't think he would, but I just want to watch it just for the drama. I think that would be great. Urban, you're saying hands down Ruben Neves. Look, Coop Miners, Zaki, you're not the first person to mention Coop Miners. I've taken a look at him. He looks good. He does look good. You probably know more about him than I do about Declan Rice right now. Ryan, you're talking about Locatelli, saying they want 40 million euros for Locatelli. Worth a go. He does look so good. He does look good. Obviously, you can't go and sign a player off the back of 1 or 2 individual performances at the Euros. And if United was smart and United had genuine scouts around Europe, they would have known about Locatelli before the Euros. And they already would have a bit of information on him. And that'll be interesting. I'll tell you what, I'll try and pull up. I saw this yesterday, actually. I think it was from Adam Crafton on Locatelli. I think he pulled up his stats because if you didn't read it before the Euros kicked off, they did a fantastic data pack on players to watch at the Euros. And somebody that they named was, of course, Locatelli. So fair play to them for for saying that. There we go. He's found it. He's done well. Ladies and gentlemen, he's done very well there. Let me pull that up here so we can all look at it together. We can have a look at this lad's stats. Right, where are we going here? Head back to the stream. Right. Let's pull this one up. Locatelli. Manuel Locatelli's well-worked goal separates the sides at the break. But looking at here, so this is Locatelli last season. He had 2,770. You might not be able to. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. There we go. That's pretty much as full screen as you're going to get it. 23-year-old, plays for Sassuolo, 40 million euros. 2,775 minutes last year at DM. And this is his pizza chart. Looking at how he plays. His defending intensity is very high. Progressive passing, that's crucial for any defensive midfielder that we sign. We need a defensive midfielder who can bring the ball forward. And that's something that clearly Locatelli can do if he's scoring 2 goals. Receptions in the opposing box. His shot volume is very low, which again is fucking hilarious because he's just scored 2 yesterday. Ball retention ability, not that high. And maybe that will be a slight concern for him. Carry and dribble, not particularly. Link-up volume, he's more about, look, ball recoveries, disrupting opposition moves, defending intensity, aerial duels. He's good at that, and obviously you're going to be needing that, and progressive passing. So his 5 top stats here, according to his chart from The Athletic, his progressive passing, his defensive intensity, his aerial duels, receptions in opponent's box, and his XG from ball progression, which I'll be honest, I've got absolutely no idea what that means. But after his performance last night, plenty of clubs are going to be looking at him. And that price there, you're looking at the same price that Real Madrid are trying to put on Kieran Trippier. Imagine that. Locatelli for the same price as Trippier. We've got John Ewan on YouTube. Thank you for this, my friend. Sign Ndidi as a pure central defensive midfielder so our centre mids can attack. And that is exactly why we need a defensive midfielder. For anybody that doesn't properly understand, in my opinion, why a defensive midfielder could be the transformative signing for United, it is exactly that. Because if at the moment, we play 4 at the back, 2 holding midfielders, 3 in front and 1 up front. That's our standard formation under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it has been for a long, long time. If we sign, and in that position, you always restricting one of the holding midfielders because you've got 2 playing alongside each other in a double pivot. Signing a defensive midfielder changes the entire shape of our midfield and the entire shape of our attack. Because if we sign a defensive midfielder, he then sits, Ndidi or Locatelli or Neves, whoever it is, sits, and we switch to a 4-3-3. And instead of playing 4-2-3-1, we play 4-3-3 with 1 holding midfielder in front of our defense, with 2 central midfielders playing further up. And that can be Pogba and Bruno. And then you play Rashford on the left, you play Sancho on the right, baby. You play Greenwood or Cavani up front. The shape of our midfield changes. The positions where Pogba and Bruno receive the ball will change. They'll receive the ball further up the pitch. And it's why Pogba looks so much better with France than he does with United, in my opinion. They've got Kante. He's the guy who just cleans up. You want the ball? Boom. Want the ball? Boom. That's his job. His job is to feed the ball to players like Pogba. And that's why it works so well. And that is what United are missing so much. Let me see here. We've got a comment here coming in from Manoil. Bulgaria in the house as always. Good morning to you. Saul and Didi for me were the best solution. Ramos 50-50. If he agrees a salary less than 300k, and Trippier, no. Getting in your opinion on everything. We call that a super chat and making the most of it. Good morning to you, Manoil. Saul, I haven't watched enough of Saul to have an opinion on him as a defensive midfielder, but Ndidi would indeed be a fantastic signing. And I think they're looking at is it Sumer from Lille, and maybe they're preparing for Ndidi to leave. Maybe they'll bring Sumer in and Ndidi will go out. I don't know. That's just speculation. I'm probably just making that up. But Ndidi is the sort of pure defensive midfielder that United do need. And maybe that would be a reason why someone like Ndidi would be better than someone like Neves. But Neves, for me, just strikes me as such a dynamically adaptable and confident player. And bear in mind, Ruben Neves is not that old at all. Let me have a look at Ruben Neves' stats. Let's pull those up here. Ruben Neves stats. He is 24. He's only 24. And I think that the thing that I find most interesting about Ruben Neves is the fact that so many have him down as an attacking midfielder because he scores a couple of bangers. Therefore, Ruben Neves is just an attacking midfielder. But that's just so not the case Because if you're having a look here, let's go over here. Let's bring this bad boy up. Oh, sorry. I think my camera's gone. My God. You can still hear me, but I think my camera's just turned off. So in that sense, I'm going to have to wrap this up now because this is a bit embarrassing. But I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about Ruben Neves. I'm sure you can still hear me. But until next time, take it easy. And I'm sorry about this, but I need to fix this.